You better go out and buy stock now. Let me tell you, this country will be like a rocket ship that goes straight up.
My favorite quote from The West Wing. Decisions are made by those who show up. And in 2024, Ripple showed up.
Can't be clearer to me. I've shown you the macro evidence, the technical evidence, the sentiment evidence. Everything here suggests to me that hold on to your hats. Don't fuck this up.
Among the traditional European exchange groups, we have the largest crypto business and digital assets business. So what's happening in crypto? Crypto is going mainstream.
What will eventually happen to US dollar dominance?
Yeah, I eventually think that we will.
The SWIFT is secure, but if you get the SWIFT credentials because of some lack of security somewhere else, that's a problem. Open question whether Ripple can mitigate this. By the way,
they try to shake me out, but I was born ready. Dropping down the price, then I be getting plenty. They want all your bags and they want all them empty.
What's up, good glitches? If you got a baggie, welcome to the party. Welcome back to some more Moon o'clock news. No breakfast, no coffee, just straight extra. Bullishness. Shout out to the latest sub. Appreciate you stopping by, tuning in. Don't forget to drop an elbow from the top ropes on that likey button. We got XRP starting to climb back up. Currently right around $2.35. We got one from Cointelegraph to pop things off bullish. Bitcoin hit 103.8K for the first time since January with 344,620 new wallets created amid rising FOMO. However, taking a look at the altcoin season index, interesting what happened here in the altcoin season index recently. Altcoins have excited the Bitcoin season, suggesting that alts are stronger than Bitcoin from now on. 25 is BTC season. Altcoins are starting to wake up. XRP on the rise. We got one from Ripple showing up matters, Lauren. Ripple's global co-head of policy explains why proactive engagement and education with regulators and policymakers in Washington, D.C. and globally is essential to building a smart, responsible framework for crypto innovation.
I'm Lauren Beliv, and this is Crypto in a Minute. It all comes down to my favorite quote from The West Wing. Decisions are made by those who show up. And in 2024, Ripple showed up. It was the Biden administration, and we were under Gary Gensler's reign of terror, where he issued over 100 different enforcement actions across the crypto industry. That is not regular order. So Ripple decided to really invest its time and energy in the political process, working tirelessly to educate bipartisan members on our technology and our work around consumer protection. We went to the DNC, we invested into the RNC, and we participated throughout the campaign cycle. And now we have the most pro-crypto Congress, as well as a pro-crypto president. We attended the inauguration along with the inaugural White House Crypto Summit. We are working with Congress as it puts pen to paper on bipartisan legislation that will define the next 100 years of our industry. And we are excited about all the potential that there is to come. Boom. How is that?
Riz XRP, hold on to your hats. XRP.
Here we are now. It can't be clearer to me. I've shown you the macro evidence, the technical evidence, the sentiment evidence. Everything here suggests to me that hold on to your hats. Don't fuck this up. Don't lose control of your tokens. Don't use leverage. Don't get your wallet hacked. Just sit with it. Be careful. Don't get FOMO. Do all of the right things, and we'll go up to the next phase of correction zone. That's going to be harder because the next one that happens, we'll have a 35% drop, and you'll all say, "Is it over?" And you'll definitely be sure it's over. And everybody on Twitter will tell you it's over, and it won't be over. By our work, we suggest that because of the elongation of the business cycle, because rates were higher for longer, the forward-looking liquidity suggests that, again, probabilistically speaking, without any guarantees, this whole thing goes into Q1, maybe Q2 of 2026, which would align with Trump's, trying to win the midterms as well. So everything's lined up for us. I think it started. So keep the faith, keep building stuff.
Crypto Eddie, this is not a settlement. Ripple versus SEC go back and support. Commissioner Caroline A. Cranshaw puts out her strong dissent statement. She wants to gut its own enforcement program from the inside out. Cointelegraph latest Boris Stuttgart CEO says crypto is going mainstream and the EU has a head start over the US.
Among the traditional European exchange groups, we have the largest crypto business and digital assets business. So what's happening in crypto? Crypto is going mainstream, right? More and more people have digital assets, have cryptocurrencies, right? That's a secular trend. Also, more and more traditional institutional investors embrace crypto. More and more traditional financial institutions, also across Europe, and we are their infrastructure partner. So is the US ahead in terms of regulation when it comes to compared to Europe? I wouldn't say so. And it's interesting. It's a great question. And it's interesting you're asking this question. In fact, Europe is ahead. We have a regulation. It's called MiCAR, right? It is now in effect, and it's not a bad regulation. And if you compare that with the regulatory fragmentation in the US, Europe even has a head start. Of course, now we need to make sure with all this dynamic and political support in the US that we do not fall behind again.
Meanwhile, we got live footage of a live rug pull in session. CoinDesk Bitcoin will replace the US dollar dominance in 10 years or less, says billionaire VC Tim Draper. Waited to get a hold of that on-demand liquidity. Faster, cheaper, more efficient.
What will eventually happen to US dollar dominance?
Yeah, I eventually think that we will no longer have US dollar dominance over the long period, but that's over a long period of time.
A ballpark estimate of how, when Bitcoin will replace the US dollar?
10 years, something like that. It may be a little less because there will be a moment. I mean, the good news here is that banks can now hold your Bitcoin and your fiat currency. And so if you desperately, you're in you see it on social media, hey, we got to get rid of our dollars, we got to buy Bitcoin. You can do it pretty quickly online, but you don't want to be, in line at the banks trying to get your dollars out to put them into Bitcoin when there is a transformation.
Cointelegraph Trump, you better go out and buy stocks, buy crypto, buy XRP now. Let me tell you, this country will be like a rocket ship that goes straight up. Will this be bullish for crypto as well? XRP, the only digital asset with legal clarity, with utility.
You better go out and buy stock now. Let me tell you, this country will be like a rocket ship that goes straight up. This is going to be numbers that nobody's ever seen before. That's a very important element of all of this. If we get that, if you don't, and the Democrats are fighting it only because they want to fight. They have Trump derangement syndrome. If it was somebody else, they wouldn't fight. If you had a normal person, if you had some stiff sitting behind you, they'd be fine.
Smoke Dog and Ripple help secure the SWIFT network. Ripple mentioned in a webinar as a potential solution to mitigate security risk on the SWIFT network during a discussion about a hacker exploit that costed SWIFT $81 million.
Really is challenging the market dominance of SWIFT, the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications. We'll talk more about it. Really is challenging the market dominance of SWIFT, the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications. We'll talk more about SWIFT. And so why is the security so important? Well, we know why it's so important. Is Ripple more secure than SWIFT? Well, SWIFT is terribly secure. However, I'll mention an infamous event that happened in 2016 that goes to show the old adage that, as the designers of the Maginot Line learned, you're only as secure as the weakest link. So hackers exploited weaknesses in the firewall of the central bank of Bangladesh. It's called Bangladesh Bank. The weakness was said to be, and this could be apocryphal, but said to be a misconfigured $20 Radio Shack router. And because of that weakness, hackers were able to gain access to the Bangladesh Bank's SWIFT credentials for its account at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. And with those SWIFT credentials, stole $81 million from the Bangladesh Bank's account at FRBNY. So SWIFT is secure, but if you get the SWIFT credentials because of some lack of security somewhere else, that's a problem. Open question whether Ripple can mitigate this. By the way, much of that $81 million amount was turned into chips at various casinos in Macau and elsewhere, and most of the money was never recovered.
NFA Crypto, the NSA is the primary government authority responsible for cryptography in the US. David Schwartz worked there. The NSA uses riddles to test intelligence. The equivalent of the NSA in the UK is called GCHQ. Together, they are the two biggest cryptography agencies in the world. The GCHQ uses riddles to test intelligence. Interesting how riddles and cryptography go hand in hand, isn't it? And taking a look at XRP here, having a nice bounce up here, currently right around $2.34, $2.35. Still waiting on that next moonshot for XRP. TikTok. And with that being said, we got Freddie Riz, although not formally over. March announcement by Ripple and yesterday's co-signed by the SEC. and Ripple give potential Ripple customers all the cover they need. In other words, it's put up or shut up time for Ripple. With the SEC settlement now official, we may start to see announcements that Ripple and others have held back pending legal clarity. This could mark a new chapter for XRP and the XRP holders. The longer they take, the higher we keep climbing on that XRP rich list. Where will those bags be when that regulation jar of molasses finally breaks open? And XRP's true price is finally revealed. We'll catch you up here on the mothership. I am the XRP Bagman, the Moon Commander. BYOB. Bring your own bags, be your own bank, be your own boss. And don't forget to drop an elbow from the top ropes on the likey button. We'll see you at the tippy top. Later, glitches.
Later, glitches.
Can you take me with you when we blow up? Can you take me with you when we blow up? When we blowin'. When we blowin'. Can you take me with you when we blow up? Can you take me with you when we blow up? When we blowin'. When we blowin'. You ain't get yourself a bag, now we blowin' up fast. You sitting in the back, looking mad. Looking mad.